Hi friends. So in one of the last videos that I just put out on YouTube, I was talking to you about a seminar that I put together, thought about, prayed about, kept thinking that I needed to do more as far as helping people with their journey on grief and trauma, and on the journey of healing, which I am still very much on, and to be honest, probably always will be, and that's okay, right? When we lose special people in our lives, it's just normal that we're going to always try to heal ourselves and figure out how we're going to do this. But anyway, I started to tell you that in the seminar, or after the seminar, that it actually was kind of like another recovering process. It was kind of strange to me that it impacted me like it did. But I think part of it was that I was just overwhelmed by the response that I got of people. I originally set it up that we would sell tickets for I think 30 something people. We sold those out, and so then I opened it up to like 60 something and sold those tickets out, and then opened it up for as much capacity as this conference center, this Paradise Room could hold, and we sold out all tickets, so 120 seats. So overwhelmed by people that need healing in their life, that need wholeness and wellness, overwhelmed by the support of people in this community, the support that they've been for me. It's overwhelming. There was over 500 people at Whitney's funeral, and I'm amazed, but I'm not. She touched so many people, and hopefully, like our family, ourselves, we have touched people also. We have a lot of friends in this community. We live in such a beautiful place. So anyway, and I think also, like, I get pretty raw in this talk. So it's probably not something that you want maybe your children to listen to, but it definitely is raw about her accident and kind of what led up to it, and then hopefully at the end I talk to you a little bit about the healing. But like I said, I had so many requests for us to video the conference, but it was just it was a good 2-hour conference, so it would have been difficult to, I think, to put that out there. So I thought I will read you the talk that I gave, and then maybe in sometime in the future, maybe I can even do a podcast with some of the other speakers that were there and have them share their stories with you. That would be a really great thing. So hopefully I can get through this without a whole lot of crying. It's emotional, but it's something that I need to share. So here I go. February 13th, 1989, the most perfect baby girl, Whitney Ann, was placed in our arms after 9 years of trying and the loss of 3 baby boys in late-term pregnancies. Through adoption, God blessed us with the greatest blessing in our lives. March 13th, 1991, we were given the second greatest blessing. After 7 long months of strict bed rest, I gave birth to our amazing son, Jeremy. I cherished every single second with these two treasures in my life and never took their lights in my life for granted. Whitney was a beautiful child. Blonde hair, big blue eyes that you could actually see her soul through. Long legs, graceful hands, full of kindness, and unusual empathy for others at a very young age. Smart, full of adventure, and quirky. Emphasis on quirky. She was a lot of fun. Whitney and Jeremy were very close as siblings, played well together, and fought just as well together. Even if they were angry with each other, no one else better pick on the other one because they were fierce protectors of each other, always had each other's backs, and had a strong love and bond. Fast forward to the year 2019. Whitney had been living in Logan, Utah. In January, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Renner Marie. Whitney's marriage had been rocky, and Whitney decided to move home with us when her daughter was around 6 months old. This time was both a blessing and a trial in the fact that it was difficult to watch Whitney trying to patch her marriage back together and then ultimately deciding that it was irreparable and asking for a divorce. A blessing in the fact that it was a joy to have Whitney back home and have our beautiful first grandchild there to love and watch her grow and develop. Whitney's divorce became ugly and messy. There was a lot of hurt on both sides. In August of 2020, Whitney called me while I was at work and told me that she had been awakened by a horribly violent dream. In the dream, she saw herself and Renner in a horrible car accident. As she was telling me about the dream, it physically hurt my chest. I stopped her and told her that I felt like she was just extremely hurt and stressed and trying not to dwell on the dream. 2 days later, once again, she called me at work and told me that she again had been awakened with the same dream, only this dream was even more violent and more horrific. I didn't let her tell me any details of the dreams because I couldn't bear the thoughts of anything bad happening to her or to Renner. So once again, I told her that the dreams I was sure was due to stress. The interesting thing was that soon after the dreams, Whitney started to receive an amazing peace. She started to tell us that if she could just hold on till October, she knew that she would be okay. She felt so strongly about this that she started telling everyone her sentiments. So much so that people started asking me, "What's going on with Whitney? Why does she feel so strongly that if she can just hold on till October, that she will be okay?" All I could think of was that in mid-October, her and her husband would be going to court for a custody agreement and final divorce. Sunday, October 11th, we were coming home from a custody exchange. Renner had been with her dad and his family since Thursday. My husband, Whitney, and I loaded up in her car and picked Renner up in Heber. It was a pitch dark night as we headed home. At mile marker 102 coming into Fort Mighton, the SUV in front of us suddenly hit a black cow standing in the middle of the road. We swerved around the SUV and the cow, now dead. The SUV pulled over to the side of the road. I specifically remember Whitney saying, "We need to stop and see if anyone in the SUV is hurt." And of course, that's what we were all thinking. Mike pulled in front of the SUV with the back end of the car out a little way so that any oncoming vehicle could see the emergency flashers that he had turned on. I started to get out of the car and had a strong voice come in my head that said, "Don't get out of the car." So I closed my door. I didn't realize that Whitney was already out of the car. Mike was just getting out of the car and was turning. He saw Whitney standing with the driver of the SUV. His name was Cody Marks. Cody was slumped over and Whitney had her hand on his shoulder. And then there was a horrific noise. A distracted driver that was on his cell phone, going way too fast, hit the dead cow in the road, swerved, and slammed into the back of Cody's SUV, which then slammed into Whitney and Cody, throwing their bodies. Cody's body landed to the side of my door. He was killed on impact. Whitney was thrown approximately 50 feet out into the field. She was hit so hard that she was literally pushed almost completely underneath the dirt. Mike ran frantically out into the field screaming her name, trying to find her in the dark. He screamed at the driver that hit them to help him find his daughter. The driver did nothing except to keep talking on his cell phone about his possibly wrecked race car that was in his enclosed trailer hooked onto the back of his truck. There are no words that I can tell you that can even explain the horror of the rest of that night. The emotion, the pleading to God to please don't take my baby, the trying to talk to the 911 operator and the words coming out of my mouth not even making sense, the thoughts about our little Renner in her car seat that wasn't making a peep. I didn't know if she had also been killed when the slammed SUV hit the back of Whitney's car. Mike finally found Whitney's arm above the dirt and pulled her out. She had a faint heartbeat. When I saw the flashing lights of the highway patrol, I was able to hang up with the operator and call Jeremy. I don't know how he was even able to make sense of what I was saying. Jeremy and his beautiful wife, Maddie, who herself was 7 months pregnant, got to the accident site as the ambulance was closing their doors with Whitney inside. Whitney coded twice while in the ambulance. They called Lifeline, and just as Lifeline was landing, Whitney, now in the hospital, coded again. The vivid memory that plays over and over in my brain was the doctors on top of her, desperately pumping her chest, trying desperately to keep her alive. My desperate pleas to them to please don't let her die, for someone to please give her a blessing, for God to please don't take her. Please don't take my baby girl, this beautiful, precious soul that I loved completely with all of my heart and my soul. But God's will is stronger than my will and stronger than your will. He is bigger and he knows the beginning to the end. He took his beloved daughter back to where she came from. He took her home. The day after her death, I had a voice in my head say to me, "Read Whitney's last text to you." So I looked at my phone and read the last text she sent me the morning of her death. It read, "And again this morning when I was praying, I keep thinking of a car crash, and I don't know why. And I think he is watching out for me. I just need to keep having faith in him." My world as I knew it had just shattered into a million pieces, and it would never be the same again. I can honestly tell you that I didn't think I would survive the most unimaginable grief and trauma that came after this. The messiness of the ugly divorce and the trauma of losing Renner from our home. The raw emotion of it all too much to even breathe and wondering if I even wanted to. How do I do this? Grief is a vicious animal. Everyone handles it differently. Every death is different because every loss is different. Every person is different. Every child is different. Every relationship and every circumstance is different. People can have sympathy and empathy, but until someone has walked in your same exact shoes, no matter how hard they try, they can never know exactly how you feel. How do I survive the unthinkable? For me, I dove into every spiritual book I could find to try to find answers. I dove into the scriptures. I wanted to walk the path with my Savior to find some sort of comfort. So I read the book of John, and then Luke, and then Mark, and then Matthew. I dove into the Old Testament. I prayed like I've never prayed before. I had to learn how to give it to God. Let Him take it. Let Him take over. Learn how to trust Him. And most of all, I started down the long, hard road of trying to learn how to forgive. This has been the hardest of all the commandments for me. It's a daily, hourly process. But I want to tell you, forgiveness will set you free. The process of forgiving will release you from the trauma. It will release you from the anger, the darkness, and the heaviness of it all. In July 2022, at the encouragement of my husband, I went back to school and dove in head first. 3 months earlier than required, I received my certification to be a wholeness and wellness life coach with an emphasis in trauma and grief. The knowledge that I have received from the teachings of life coaching has been a life changer for me. It's taught me that I am totally in control of the results of how I want to live my life. In the circumstances of your life, you have to look deep and realize that we all have a responsibility in that circumstance. I do want to clarify here. This absolutely excludes any kind of abuse that happens to a child. They are indeed the victim. In our particular situation, we may not have had a choice in the timing that we were on the road, the choice of a negligent farmer, or the choices made by the distracted driver. But our responsibility in that circumstance was that we all made a conscious decision to stop and help a stranger in need. We could have just kept on going, and then my daughter would still be alive. But the calling from Christ is to stop and help the Samaritan. And I want to tell you, I don't regret stopping to help Cody Marks. The last acts of kindness that my daughter achieved on this earth was to have her hand resting with compassion on the shoulder of a stranger in need, and the other, to donate the corneas of her beautiful big blue eyes and her precious heart valves. By taking responsibility in the circumstance, we release ourselves from being the victim. After the circumstance, we as humans automatically go directly to the emotions or feelings. But there's something that has to come in between the circumstance and emotion, and that is thought. You cannot have an emotion without a thought. It is not possible. It's our thoughts that create emotion, and from emotion comes an action, and from that action comes the final result. This conscious way of thinking, and along with Jesus Christ walking beside me, has not only helped me to survive this tragedy, but is helping me daily to rise from the ashes. It doesn't mean that I don't fall apart. It doesn't mean that I don't miss her so badly that it takes my breath away from me. What it does mean is that I can actually uncurl from fetal position and live. And not only live, but I can thrive. I am going to interject here and tell you, if you're experiencing severe trauma or grief, give yourself time. And please give yourself some grace. Loss is loss of any kind. Loss of a marriage or relationship, loss of dreams, loss of a job, loss of finances, loss of custody, loss of control, loss of health, loss of a home, and even loss of your beloved pet. This all creates trauma and grief. I have clients that will apologize to me for expressing their trauma and grief and say, but this is nothing compared to what you've been through. but try not to compare trials. A trial is a trial, and grief is grief. It's real, and believe me, if you don't take your own specific trial seriously and get help, it can and will destroy you. Take your thoughts and your emotions, set them out on the table, examine them, really feel them. I will never forget what it felt like that night when Whitney was killed. I don't want to forget. She deserves for me not to forget. If I choose for a big part of me to be sad for the rest of my life, then I will be sad because I miss her. People will give you all kind of well-meaning advice. The truth is, you will never get over it. You will never move on, and this will never be your new normal because there is nothing normal about it. But you can, when the time is right, decide how you want to live your life. You might not have a choice over the circumstances that caused your grief or trauma, but we all have choice in what we want the final results of our lives to be. I promise you, God is aware of each one of you, and He hears you. Great blessings do come from bad things. I would love to teach you more about having a life coach to walk beside you on your journey of life. The first session is always free, no obligation, and you are worth it. Don't forget that your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual self need taken care of. It's everything, and it will change your life. So that was my talk, and I hope that there were words in it that will help you on your path of wellness and wholeness, and whatever trauma or grief you're experiencing in your life, that it will give you some food for thought for your healing. I have quite a few clients, and they teach me as much as I think I teach them. But I feel like it or not, we need people in our lives. We need to hear each other's stories and experiences to help us with our own journeys. So I won't keep it. I won't do it or keep talking for too much longer. But thank you for letting me share my talk with you, letting me share my time with you, for being part of my life, and hopefully I can help you with whatever you need help with. Please email me with any questions. My email is m.mgudac, Gudac, @gmail.com. I do have a website, mariannemgudac.com. You can find me on Facebook, Marianne Meekum Gudac. Whatever I can do, any questions at all, please feel free to ask, and we'll travel on this journey together. Thanks so much. Have a great day.